TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Jerusalem will not end the war in Lebanon until Israel's northern residents are once again safe to return to their homes. UNIFIL forces come under fire from masked Lebanese terrorists after uncovering a weapons cache believed to belong to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah. Iran's Yemenite proxy, Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe, pledges to continue launching attacks against Israel until the war in Lebanon as well as the war in Gaza end. Jerusalem will not relent until all of its war objectives are achieved, to include the safe return of Israel's northern residents to their abandoned communities along the Lebanese front. The Iranian proxy Hezbollah continues to deliberately launch salvos of rockets and one-way unmanned aerial vehicles towards Israel's northern civilian communities, targeting residential buildings, kindergartens, and other civilian structures on a daily basis.
I hope it will be a ceasefire. I hope for everybody in Israel, everybody in this world, but I'm not so sure that it will be. But it's enough for everybody here in Israel. Really, enough is enough.
The manager of a kindergarten that was struck over the weekend highlighted that the fact that the kindergarten was empty during the incoming strike was no less than a miracle.
Yesterday there was a siren. We heard a big bang. We came here and saw the damage. That's it. This is a kindergarten we moved into as an alternative space because there is a shelter here. It's hard, difficult, and a great miracle that we weren't here. That's the main thing, that we weren't here with the kids.
Meanwhile, behind enemy lines in southern Lebanon, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Hezbollah Halevi held a situational assessment in the area of Kfar Kila, along with Northern Command Commanding Officer Major General Ori Goldin and the field commanders of the 91st Division, during the course of which he reaffirmed the IDF's unrelenting determination to hit Hezbollah very hard until security is restored to northern Israel.
Hezbollah has paid a big price. Its chain of command has collapsed. Many of its operatives have been killed and extensive infrastructure dismantled. This organization will continue to fire, and we will continue to fight. We will continue to implement plans, to advance further, to conduct deep strikes, and hit Hezbollah very hard. We will stop when we know that we are bringing back the residents of northern Israel in safety.
It is important to note that the IDF continues to degrade Hezbollah's terror infrastructure along Lebanon's border region with Israel, with IDF forces uncovering thousands of positions from which the Iranian proxy intended to launch a surprise attack against Israel, similar to the atrocities committed by the Islamist Hamas on October 7th of 2023.
We are here in some kind of position, along with a weapons storage facility. We can see the motorcycle. These motors were essentially meant for crossing the border as quickly as possible. You can see here the underground shaft, which is essentially the position of the terrorist who was here. And here you can see the entire weapons storage facility. You can see here that there are all kinds of things, to include mortar shells, weapons, vests, sniper rifles, grenade launcher munitions, medical equipment.
While the IDF is operating tirelessly to uncover and destroy Hezbollah terror infrastructure along the Lebanese-Israeli front, the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, is trying to operate in a number of locations within the boundaries of its mandate. Interestingly enough, the United Nations acknowledged that when a UNIFIL force uncovered a weapons cache belonging to local terrorists, most probably Hezbollah, masked gunmen opened fire towards the peacekeepers, placing their lives in danger.
Our peacekeeping forces in South Lebanon report that a patrol near one of their patrols near Kalawiya noticed a cache of ammunitions near the roadway. After informing the Lebanese armed forces of their discoveries, peacekeepers continued on their planned route. A short while later, while they got out of their vehicles to remove some debris from a roadway, when getting back into their vehicles, 2 or 3 unknown people fired approximately 30 shots in their directions. The peacekeepers fired back from their vehicles and moved to safety. No one was hurt and there was no damage to the vehicles. The peacekeepers, as we have said repeatedly, must never be a target. All actors reminded of their obligations to ensure the safety and security of peacekeepers. We're also aware of media reports and claims by parties about strikes outside of UNIFIL's area of operations, both in Lebanon and in Israel. The increasing impact on civilians remains of grave concern, and we condemn all civilian loss of lives. As we've been saying, parties to the conflict must adhere to international law and protect civilians and civilian infrastructure. We continue to support efforts towards a ceasefire and a diplomatic solution.
Amid reports of progress made in mediated efforts to reach an outline for a ceasefire arrangement, which is being spearheaded by the outgoing Biden administration in Washington, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government is being pressured by the coalition as well as the opposition not to succumb to external pressures that will ultimately lead to the rehabilitation of the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon.
The basic condition that will enable the return of the residents of the North to their homes is freedom of action for the IDF against any violation by Hezbollah or any other terrorist organization. The tremendous operational achievements of the IDF must lead to the fact that any settlement in Lebanon will fundamentally change the security reality for years to come. Only in this way will we be able to return the residents of the North with security, and only in this way will we restore their trust. In southern Lebanon, we should act like in Area A. If the Lebanese government does not act, the IDF will act with force.
It is important to explain that General Gantz's reference to Area A relates to the so-called West Bank districts of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley, which per the Oslo Accords are classified into 3 separate designated zones, including A, which grants the Palestinians full administrative and security responsibility, B, which grants the Palestinian Authority responsibility for the administrative activities. However, Israel is responsible for security, and C, where Israel maintains both administrative and security control. And while the Palestinians have both administrative and security control over Area A, if the Palestinian Authority fails its security responsibilities in areas under its jurisdiction, the Oslo Accords grants Israel the legal right to operate in those territories. And while Lebanon and Hezbollah remain opposed to such an arrangement, the Jerusalem leadership is adamant on preserving Israel's legal right to enforce any future attempts by Hezbollah to breach the terms and conditions of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. Meanwhile, returning to the situation assessment held by IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, during the course of which he reiterated the military's watchful eyes on all battlefronts in which the Islamic Republic of Iran is supporting and directing its proxies against the State of Israel.
We maintain 7 watchful eyes to include Iran, Yemen, Iraq, terrorism in Judea and Samaria, and 2 days ago, we were in Gaza. Also there, it's far from quiet. Reserve soldiers are doing outstanding work, and we hear the same voices everywhere, serious, responsible, aware of the gravity of the moment, and genuinely ready to do whatever it takes.
Over the weekend, a number of Iranian proxies had launched one-way unmanned aerial vehicles from Syria, Iraq, as well as from Yemen.
The Air Force of the Yemeni, Houthi, armed forces carried out a military operation targeting a vital target of the Israeli enemy in the Eilat area in southern occupied Palestine using several drones. The operation achieved its objectives successfully by Allah's grace. The Yemeni Houthi armed forces salute the steadfastness of the Palestinian and Lebanese peoples in the face of Israeli aggression and confirm their continuation of military operations against the Israeli enemy, as well as maintaining the maritime blockade within the previously announced naval operations area. These operations will not stop until the aggression stops, the siege on the Gaza Strip is lifted, and the aggression on Lebanon stops.
In contrast to the deceitful claims by the Iranian proxy, none of its projectiles reached their intended targets, with the IDF confirming that all of the UAVs that were launched out of Yemen were intercepted prior to entering Israeli airspace. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based and, as such, broadcast free of charge, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.